If I could describe the Get My Life tour in one word, it would be vulnerability. Showing up for yourself is so important. Welcome to the Get My Life tour. I'm your host, Lydia T. Blanco. Hey y'all, and welcome to the Get My Life tour. It is me, your host, Lydia T. Blanco, and you know that I am excited that you decided to show up for yourself and take center stage in your life. We are back at it again with another stop on the tour. My goodness, have I told you how much I appreciate you lately? I appreciate you. I've been on tour for quite some time now, and the official anniversary mark is coming up this July. I am thrilled. I'm honored. It is a privilege. And being on tour is something that I do not take lightly. I've had an incredible time having conversations, very detailed and intimate conversations with all of the women who've come on tour. I'm looking forward to a number of phenomenal men joining me and taking center stage, because it's important that we hear, a number of perspectives and really make room for the experiences that all of us have had, right? I say that to say thank you. Thank you so much for being on tour with me. All right. On this stop of the tour, I am still here in the Bay Area. The weather is gorgeous. And you know what? I've been living above the fear. I have been outside. Of course, I've been adhering to social distancing measures and making sure that I follow protocol. But it has also been important for me to be outside and get fresh air, build my immune system, right? And be active and be outdoors, because it has been a long 4 months, 5. Let's not even do the math. It's been a long time inside, right? And I remember having a conversation with a therapist, and she said, we are not designed for social distancing. And it is so true. And I know others may have a different perspective given who it is that you are sheltering in place with, right? Some people are by themselves. Others are with people who they haven't spent time around in a long time. So, respect. But I most definitely have been outside, masked up, sitting on grass without my mask and just enjoying, this summer. I think it is important for us to make sure that we are counting the days, right? Every day inside shouldn't feel the same. Saturday should still feel like Saturday. If, you're looking forward to a certain day on the calendar, wait with great enthusiasm. I feel like I'm on a little tangent here, but I say all that to say, look, we're on tour. Continue to live your life. COVID-19 has taught so many of us so much, but those of us who are still able-bodied and have, a calling on our lives and we're still here, I think it is important that we live freely. Okay, so I feel like I've given my PSA, gone on the tangent, but said meaningful things, right? I want to talk about the art of following up. Intentionality is so important to me. It is a big part of why I'm so passionate about this podcast, about the Get My Life tour as a lifestyle brand. And it's because you have to be intentional about how you show up, who you are, and how you treat others. And a big part of that is following up. Following up with others and following up with ourselves. Following up with others tends to be a conversation when it comes to business, right? Some kind of transaction, networking, customer service and rapport, all these things. but I'd like to tackle it from the side of social and emotional being. I don't want to say learning because this is not, truly or purely educational, and I am no SEL expert, but I think it is important to follow up with others and yourself. And it's not about the transaction for me. For me, it is about being a person of your word, right? I feel like I could have an entire conversation about being a person of your word, but I think that following up is just as important. For those of you who follow me, possibly on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever platform it is, my website, or here on the Get My Life Tour, you may have seen that a month ago now, I actually exited my full-time position as a digital editor for a publication that focuses on business and entrepreneurship. I was so entrenched in the mission, and I am someone who is super passionate about seeing Black people win. But I realized that I couldn't do that at the expense of a number of things. I'll probably get into those other things on another stop of the tour. But I say that because there were so many things that I set out to do for myself, both personally and professionally. And even as it relates to growing the Get My Life Tour, Sincere Visions, which is an independent storytelling platform that I launched some time ago, which is now pivoting into media literacy. And I kept thinking about the things that I set out to do. I was going to do X, Y, and Z, and it was going to be incredible. And I was going to spend all this time nurturing and building and growing and scaling all of these things that I had written down time after time after time. Life, right, kept getting in the way, which really were excuses as to why I did not have the time. But the real issue was that I was not following up with myself. It is key to follow up with other people, right? When you think about that transaction, you're thinking about, okay, let me make sure I send a thank you card or follow up via email or send this next, newsletter, whatever the case may be. But when it comes to ourselves and the things that we set out to do for ourselves, we often don't think about the ways that we can follow up or the ways that we should follow up with ourselves. So I put a number of things into the universe before. I said what I wanted to do, prayed on it, fasted on it, meditated on it. And I realized there was no follow-up, right? Long story short, one of the ways that I had to follow up with myself and for myself was to exit the position I was in. Now, I know that may sound a little puzzling for some, but in all honesty, sometimes you have to make the best move for yourself, even if it means that other things are going to be put on pause, or you're going to have to let go of some things that you thought were so great so that you can actually follow up with yourself and execute. The moment I decided to have a conversation about exiting my position, there was so many counter offers that came my way. And those counter offers and those conversations that others wanted to have with me was confirmation that I needed to follow up with myself and go through with my plan, right? Let me say this. Oftentimes, when you decide to make the best decision for you, others will try to negotiate so that they can find ways to come up. And I found that when I am following up with and for myself, that is when I'm able to move laterally. That is when I'm able to say, you know what, it's time for me to fall back. That is when I'm able to say, you know what, it is what it is. quite frankly, because at times you have to be the most important person. And I say person, right? Because a number of people believe in a higher being, and I am of, that clan, but I want to be mindful and respectful of others' beliefs in the way, in which they exist. But at times you have to be the most important person to yourself, and that means following up with yourself, plainly. I often tell people the easily offended do not last long. It is like one of my Lydia-isms. And I want to share that with you as I speak about the art of following up. And the reason why I say that is because, or the reason why I want to offer that to you is because when you are doing things for yourself, when you're prioritizing what is important and truly what needs to come first, which is often yourself in those hard moments, right? When you're trying to decide between two things, right? Your wellness, your well-being, how you show up. There are going to be people who are offended, okay? Offended, mad, hot, tight. What are some other words for offended, right? Just like truly put off by the decision you make to follow up with yourself about whatever it is that you set out to do. And you cannot be distracted by others' offense. And I go back to saying the easily offended don't last long is because you'll find out who is temporary. Trust and believe that there will be people who reposition themselves because they cannot or do not have the capacity to witness you following up with yourself. There are people who truly benefit from you not keeping your word, for you not showing up the way that you said you would love to for yourself. People will show their true colors when you are doing you. A lot of people talk about, do you, boo, do you? No, 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 no. No, truly pay attention beyond the hype to who repositions themselves or who needs to be repositioned as you follow up with yourself. One of the things that I also want to touch on is being able to take the time that you need to reset. Oftentimes, there isn't an away message that we can craft or tailor when we need to take time to ourselves. And right now is a prime example of that for me. I have been in transition and reset mode, right? I'm transitioning. I'm also taking the time that I need to rest, to be still, to reset. And I did not think of a message to tailor to anyone. I just knew that I needed to take the time to follow up with myself. And in doing so, there's a certain way that I have to respond to others and communicate the time that it will take for me to follow up with other people. So it's twofold, right? Being mindful of what I need and being mindful of other people's time. Because time is something that you cannot get back. And a lot of people say time is money, right? But to me, time is more valuable than money. You can have a conversation with someone for 5 minutes, land a 6-figure contract, or you can be in a relationship with whomever for how long and it never be beneficial, right? That could be business, it could be romantic, platonic, whatever the case may be. But essentially what I'm saying is that it is key to make sure that you are truly taking the time that you need to follow up with yourself and others. Be very mindful of time and the amount of time that it takes for you to follow up. I think that really also includes time management skills, right? But also making some reminders, set a calendar or create a calendar, set an alarm or figure out ways to jot things down that are important. And like I said, communicate the time that it will take for you to follow up with others, but also be realistic about how long it's going to take for you to follow up with yourself. I'm someone who is constantly setting goals, and I'm like, okay, you know what? That may actually take me 2 weeks to do. And for someone else, they're probably like, why would that take you 2 weeks when that could take you 2 days, if not 2 hours, if you just focused? Right now, I am being realistic with myself, with where it is that I am, which means that I have to be realistic about the expectations that I set for myself and others and communicate what is realistic for me. Okay. I'm, I have been too hard on myself, and people who are closely connected to me are, I guess, proud of me with the amount of time that I'm taking to make sure that I am healthy and whole as I re enter certain spaces, as I work on this podcast and this lifestyle brand and everything else that it is that I'm setting out to do or have set out to do quite some time ago, right? And I think for them, it's like, wow, Lydia is actually being still. Oh, she's actually taking somewhat of a break. And I say somewhat because I am someone who has not let grass grow under my feet. And now I'm just like, has that always been the best theory or strategy for me? Time will tell. But being realistic as we follow up with ourselves and being kind it matters. Being realistic and being kind to matters. When I think about the art of following up and just with ourselves and others, what comes to mind is how paramount it is to be selfless. Now, I know a lot of what I've shared pertains to self, right? But I think that there is a way to follow up without being self-centered. And even if what it is that we need pertains to self, to not be selfish. Selfishness truly, it hinders so much. And when I think about being in relationship with others, I think of all of the ways that I am able to make sure that I am getting what I need and not being completely selfish, right? I think about selfishness twofold, right? We have to be selfish, right? For self, healthfully. But then there's that other kind of selfishness that we've, most likely all have experienced and do not agree with and probably loathe, right? There's nothing worse than someone who is extremely selfish, right? But I say that because it is truly, man, I feel like I'm having a moment here because we engage with so many selfish people. And I really want to encourage you, as I remind myself, to not be selfish. As we are on tour, as we are journeying through life, there is a time and a place for everything. And it's so important as we're in relationships with others and as we pursue our dreams and just life, that we are mindful of how we are with others, because there's so much to life that is not about us. There's so much that is bigger than us. And when we have those experiences where someone can't be who we need, or we can't be there for someone else because of our own selfishness and where we are, and because we haven't followed up with ourselves, now we can't be available to others. That creates a huge problem. I, in all honesty, have been on both sides of that. And that is how I've learned how powerful selfishness is. It can truly cause division, right? And even unbeknownst to us, truly, because sometimes we're so clouded with everything that's going on around us that we're not realizing that we're being unavailable and that there are others who really need us. So it's so paramount. It is so paramount. And it truly is key to follow up with ourselves. I was doing research and I was trying to, Google and read a number of articles about following up with, yourself and X, Y, and Z. And I couldn't find much. And I was like, you know what? Okay, well, I'm going to put this conversation together and hopefully, it helps those tuned in and helps me, right? As I just have this one-on-one dialogue, right? As I speak into this microphone, I'm like, wow, okay, let me think about this and what does that really mean? But that selfishness piece, a lot of us need to work on it. A lot of us. I'm included in that. I think about the ways that I show up or how I could be giving more, whatever the case may be. And I think that is something that a number of us probably could agree, like, right? So just take some time to reflect on that and ask yourself, like, am I being too selfish, or is there a way a way that I need to follow up with myself that will allow me to be more available to others when they need me? The last thing I'd like to offer is make sure that you have someone who can hold you accountable. There is so much work that we have to do on our journeys, and being able to have the courage and be vulnerable enough to find someone to hold you accountable is key. It truly is. There is not much that we can do on our own. And if you are someone who is learning how to follow up with yourself and others, a calendar reminder, a note on the door may not be enough. There may be someone who you need to partner with who can say, hey, did you make sure you did? Hey, how's that looking? What's that? How's that? Someone who just might be all in your business just for a little bit, right? For a little while, so that you can make sure that you're staying on top of what it is that you need to do, especially the things that you need to do for yourself. There's so much power in partnering with other people. That's why we are on tour together, because it's different, right? When you're rehearsing on a stage, you're making sure that, the sound is good. And then you leave and you feel comfortable with whatever it was that you left on the stage. But when you have someone who's, on sound, they can tell you, you know what? Get closer to the mic, back up. Can you say that a little louder? Maybe you should enunciate a little bit more. Or someone to tell you, hey, that's not going to work while you're standing on the stage because, people can see X, Y, or Z. Or maybe you should come out like this. Maybe you should say it like that. Whatever the case may be, when you have people on tour with you, it's almost like you go further. In addition to showing up for ourselves, this tour is about accountability, right? It is so dope when I hear people say, you know what, I needed to hear that, or people, reach out and beyond the affirmation are truly saying that this is what they need. The person who took center stage with me was who they needed to hear from so that they can be reminded and encouraged and inspired to continue to go on. So we are at the point in the tour where it is time for my mic drop moment. I always look forward to dropping the mic. And what I want to leave here on a stage with you all is that you cannot expect others to follow up with you if you are not following up with yourself. You can't. It's truly difficult, and it is a heck of a ask for you to ask someone to follow up with you or show up for you in ways that you're not willing to do for yourself. Look, I hope that you have taken what you needed from this conversation, and I hope that I'm leaving you better than I found you, right? And I don't say that in an arrogant way, but I truly hope that you got something that you needed on this stop of the tour. If you are looking for ways to stay connected with the Get My Life Tour, be sure to connect with the Get My Life Tour on all social platforms. Make sure that you go to thegetmylifetour.com and subscribe to the newsletter so that you can come backstage. Getting ready to launch real soon. Excited about growing, our community there, and look forward to sharing all of the latest developments with you as we embark on year 2 of the Get My Life Tour. If you'd like to stay connected with me, be sure to follow me at Lydia T Blanco on every social platform and connect with me. Tell me what you think. Like, share, download, subscribe, leave a review of the Get My Life Tour. I'd love to hear from you and to stay connected. Also, I have some extremely exciting news to share with you all soon, but you'll have to stay tuned. But until then, be well, be present, and be phenomenal. It has been real, and I look forward to seeing you on the next stop of the Get My Life Tour. Until then, it has been real. Peace.